This episode is brought to you by Meow Wolf. School's back in, but you're a grown-up and no longer live in fear of homework. So why not wander the worlds on Wednesday, September 4th after 5 p.m. with drink in hand for the glorious return of Meow Wolf Denver's Adultiverse. This 21 and up event features the live finale of Denver's premier cocktail competition, Garnish Games, plus music trivia with special guests from Bananas Fest, and a lot more fun, only for the grownly. Dive into the Adultiverse by visiting meowwolf.com to get your tickets. That's meowwolf.com.
Today on CityCast Denver, DPS students are back in the classroom this week, but at 29 of those schools, there still isn't any air conditioning. So we're talking about the solution DPS leaders are putting in front of voters this fall. Also, a new reconsideration of a local historic icon and our wins and fails of the week. Today is Friday, August 23rd. I'm Paul Caroli, and here's what Denver's talking about. Welcome back to CityCast Denver, the show that will never, ever reveal its problematic tribal tattoo. I am, of course, referring to the number one story for 5 days straight on denverpost.com titled Colorado Representative Lauren Boebert Unveils Massive 90s Era Body Tattoo. Joshua, I got to pull you in. Did you see this? Did you see this thing?
Yeah, I saw the tattoo.
How'd you feel about it?
You know what? It made me like Lauren more. You know, like I
did it?
Yeah, I love 80s hair rock, you know.
It was very 80s.
I guess it humanized her to me. I mean, like, oh, we all make mistakes, you know.
She's made some mistakes.
Yeah, it is so big. She's not a large woman, and I would say it takes up about a fourth of her torso, like a fourth of her body. You know what I mean?
It was,
and it's all black.
Oh boy, yeah. Tribal tattoo is how people were talking about it. How do you feel about that?
What tribe is that?
Good question.
You know, people have been saying this for a long time. There's like traditional Pacific Islander tattoos. That's not what Lauren has. You know what I mean? There's no Pacific Islander that has it. It's just like radiating from like a hip bone like out. It looked like you knew exactly where the earthquake started. You know what I mean? That's what it reminded me of. Yeah.
All right. Well, it's Friday. We're here in the 5280 Magazine studios. Our host Bree Davies is out today, but I have two fantastic guests joining me. You've already heard one of our favorites, a returning guest. He's a member of the Denver American Indian Commission, which will become relevant later on in the show. A stand-up comedian, Joshua Emerson. Welcome back.
Hi, good morning, Yate Bennett, and be nicer to your mom.
Okay. All right. And also joining us is the bureau chief of Chalkbeat, Colorado, where she covers education issues all over the state. Welcome back to the show, Melanie Aspar.
Thank you for having me.
Melanie, did you see the tattoo that drove Denverites crazy on the internet this week?
Just now.
Yes?
Yeah.
What's your first impression? Give us the live react.
I said, wow, in my head. Yeah, that's a big tattoo.
I mean, it's a big tattoo.
Sure.
A lot of people have tattoos, though. I think you're right, Joshua.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where it's silly. I don't think it's people like to hate Lauren. I think you've realized this after doing the deep dive.
Yeah,
and it's to me it makes her more likable. I guess I don't know. Maybe there's so much bad about Lauren that this is my favorite thing about her lately.
Yeah, tattoos are so mainstream now too, though. Melanie, how do you feel about tattoos?
I have one very tiny one. It took about 2 minutes to do, and it hurt. Every minute hurt equally. Mm-hmm. So I will never get another one. But I think my kids are not going to think they're cool because their parents have them.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. What do you think? Like, my husband has a lot of tattoos, and I think my kids will think they're lame.
I like them. I like them as just little stickers of like, oh, I got broke up with, you know what I mean, when I was 24. It's nice to.
Which one is that? Do you care to share?
It's that one right there. It's
okay.
That one. Yeah. It's for the listeners. It's a giant hoagie bar. So you know.
All right, we got a big top story here. It's kind of an interesting one, I think. Really, the big story this week is that school is back in session. But I think the most interesting part of that is this question about air conditioning. Air conditioning is such a hot topic right now in Denver public schools. Kids across Denver returning to schools where 29 of them at Denver public schools do not have AC still. This has been an ongoing issue for several years. But Melanie, district leaders have a new plan to fix this.
Yes. It's the same plan they've had for many years. I think the first time I wrote about this was 2016, and there were 79 schools that did not have air conditioning. Now it's down to 29, as you said. And the plan all along has been to ask voters for more money on the ballot. And they will be doing that again in November.
Yeah, so it was like $975 million bond that we're going to vote on in November.
Yes, the largest ever that DPS has asked for.
How did they come up to that number?
I'm not sure. They have a giant committee of people that comes up with, they have like a big list of projects, and they kind of narrow it down to the ones they think are most important. And then I guess they add up the dollar amounts. Yeah.
And they just feel like this was the right time to go for this amount of money?
I guess so.
Interesting.
Yeah.
We've been talking about how big this ballot is going to be in November a lot. And I think that's kind of a political consideration right now. And I feel like there's something about like a school bond for like something as seemingly non-controversial as air conditioning feels like for most voters is just like absolutely. I don't know. What do you think about that, Joshua?
Well, I think it's interesting because they asked for this in 2020, right? Also for air conditioning. Why did they? I guess if they knew that the problem was still like wasn't fully solved in 2020, why didn't they ask for it in 2020? They're coming back to us in 2024, and it does seem like they're trying to get all the rest of the schools through with air conditioning with this bond. Is that correct?
Yes, I think so. I think this will be the last kind of batch of them. They've been kind of chipping away at it. Denver's never rejected a DPS bond question, at least not in the last like 2 decades. And so, I mean, the bond has like a ton of other stuff in it. So I think they only do like a portion of it is for the air conditioning. So they've been kind of chipping away at it, and they've been like prioritizing schools that are like the hottest. They've like, gone around with thermometers and like measured the classrooms, but also they prioritize schools that serve like low income communities. They kind of have like an equity index that they use to prioritize schools.
But that was a good question from Joshua, though. Why didn't they just ask for more money to get all the schools 4 years ago?
Way back when. Yeah.
Or 10 years ago.
I think there's like too much other stuff that they need.
Wow.
So
I mean, it just really speaks to, I guess, like the deficit in DPS funding overall, I suppose.
Yeah.
So you mentioned some of the other stuff that they're asking for. Like, I wonder if we could just go through a list and talk about some of these, Melanie. Like a new auditorium at Northfield High, upgrades at athletic facilities, labs and other technical education equipment, new school buses was interesting. But then the one that I wanted to talk about was a weapons detection system, which sounded like maybe like metal detectors. What do you know about that?
Yeah, so obviously safety has been a huge issue in DPS since the shooting inside East High School in March of 2023. And there was like a big community sort of outcry about, the schools aren't safe enough. And so I think that the bond money is like an attempt to make schools safer. And weapons detection systems, I don't have a great grasp of like what that would look like, but I think it's like AI. It's not like traditional metal detectors. It's more like futuristic than that, I think. And then there's also these like secure vestibules, which is like if you've ever, I don't know, gone into a building where like they kind of put you in like this little like pre-room almost where there's like someone behind glass and you have to like show your ID before you get into the school. That's like what a secure vestibule is. So they want to make these at schools. So, someone who's armed couldn't just walk in the school and have access to the whole school. They would kind of have to get through this other layer of security.
Interesting. And that's so sophisticated.
Yeah, I think about like those movies, like about like South Central LA and like the giant metal detectors and like having to walk there. It was like always like a tool to show how like dangerous this neighborhood was, But I do like the idea of like the vegetables and like a waiting area, and like there should be a separation between the public and our education system so that kids can sort of learn in a good environment. I think it goes back to the AC issue where AC makes it easier for you to do better on test scores, to internalize the information better, and so it's like an investment in the AC is an investment sort of in our future in making sure that the kids can sort of learn more and do better so that they can have the best opportunities ahead of them.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's talk about AC a little bit more broadly now, because I think the school thing, it feels like voters are going to go for it. It seems non-controversial to me.
Probably.
It's odd that it did take so long, though. I mean, maybe that's a story for a different day. But, I shared this podcast from The Daily, from the New York Times. There was an article they did with you two, and I know you both listened to it. But the article was basically about how air conditioning has, the proliferation of air conditioning has created this kind of like doom loop when it comes to climate change. Like, we're more reliant on air conditioning than ever. We now build our buildings we design them around the idea of air conditioning, and now we expect it. Every indoor space, we expect it to be a perfect 72 degrees. But of course, the cost of that has been, the planet itself getting hotter, and now we need air conditioning more to tolerate it. So I wonder how you all feel like that connects with the school air conditioning discussion. Melanie, did that spark anything for you?
Yeah, I have some pretty strong personal feelings about air conditioning. I'm one of those very annoying people, maybe you have one in your life, who's always cold. And so I actually don't love air conditioning. I hate like going into an office building and having to wear like a sweater in the summertime. And I don't have air conditioning at my house. Which
tell us about that.
I wish I did, sort
wild.
of. I mean, sometimes, but yeah.
How is that? How do you do it? Are you okay? How are you? Or should we be worried? I mean,
maybe.
Sometimes it gets hot.
Are you sweaty? I don't know.
We have one of those big like swamp coolers on the roof that sounds like a jet engine is taking off when you turn it on. I had someone visiting recently and I turned it on and they were like, "What is that noise? Like, is the apocalypse coming?" And I was like, "Oh no, that's just our swamp cooler." One time we had a family of raccoons living in our swamp cooler. Anyway, so we have a swamp cooler. It's pretty cool. And so yeah. But air conditioning in like school, I think is a totally different question. Like, I am pro air conditioning in school. I was actually following the superintendent around on Monday, the first day of school, to a couple different schools, for sort of a first day of school story. And we went to one school that was like 3 stories, and we got up to the 3rd story and it was like noticeably warm. And I was like, gosh, this is like uncomfortable. Like, when you're in a space with like 25 other people, you want air conditioning.
I got to say, my wife and I have been talking about that article all week, this air conditioning situation. We didn't have air conditioning in our house for like a summer 2 years ago. Our
that was
system,
bad.
We fought more. It was bad for our relationship. Truly, it was a problem for us. Like, it was a real issue. But at the same time, she kind of read this article and she had a very different reaction. She was like, she took the call to action seriously. Like, we should use less. We should suffer more.
We should fight more.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if she wanted to fight more, but I mean, maybe she does. But she wanted to like tough it out, for the sake of the climate. And I mean, connecting back to the schools thing, like, I also like that idea that maybe we should be a little bit tougher when it comes to like suffering and like dealing with heat, but I don't want kids to be the first ones to do it. Joshua, how about you?
Yeah, well, I'm from Phoenix, Arizona, where air conditioning is a human and spiritual right, So, just because, heat kills.
I mean, would Phoenix exist without air conditioning?
Absolutely, it would. And it's something she sort of brought up in the podcast as well. Is people have been living in Phoenix for thousands of years before air conditioning. The canals in Phoenix, they're literally thousands of years old because they're built over old Hohokam canals to get water in and around the place. So like Phoenix itself, it's a natural place for people to sort of be a city. It's not meant to be 5 million, It's not meant to have 200 golf courses all over it. But it is there's people who are meant to be there. Air conditioning itself is what made this big population boom happen. You also had this thing where it used to be cheap to sort of generate electricity, so people didn't really care about the environment, and so there's decades of development of buildings that aren't really intentionally designed with being energy efficient.
That was something that really got me about this article too, about how we used to have more regionalism in the design of buildings, and now like air conditioning has helped like facilitate the homogenization of how we build buildings. And you like look around Denver, you can just see it. People complain about it all the time.
Well, and yeah, because you're creating environments where it's like you're creating these boxes where the it's climate control, but then like the way you personalize it is by your stuff going up on the walls, but all the walls look the same. You know what I mean? And so, I I I think the problem is the way we generate electricity. I think right now it's a lot of natural gas, it's a lot of coal, and I think a movement towards nuclear in the way like France has done it. That to me seems to be like a better option than me being uncomfortable, and it feels like preachy for me to that I want to be in a comfortable situation, and it's all of a sudden on me to sort of change my energy demands, and to sort of take that solemn vow, and so that because I got a degree in economics. I always feel like people are going to act in their own self-interest, and I think that's good. I want people to be predictable so that we can sort of guess what they're going to do in the most likely way, So.
We recently reran an audio documentary I made about Colorado's first and still only nuclear power plant on our show. I think it was earlier this week, might have been last week. I think the problem is it's still too expensive. That's the issue with some of these new modular reactors they're building that like Bill Gates is investing in, and it's also like I know all of both sides of the aisle, they're all excited about it now, but it's just too dang expensive.
Yeah, I think there's things that we can do to make it cheaper.
Yeah,
but
we'll see.
Yeah, there's a project back in Georgia back in like 2019, and everybody was on board. But the amount of taxation that goes on to nuclear energy compared to natural gas or coal it's much higher.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, heavily regulated. Anyway, let's leave it there for now. Fascinating topic. I'm sure we'll talk about it more. We'll definitely be talking about the bond issue as it goes to the ballot in November. But right now, we're going to take a break. We're going to come back and talk about a historical icon that might be time to cancel.
This episode is brought to you by Wana Brands. Wana Optimals are a line of plant-powered gummies from Wana Brands, Colorado's #1 cannabis edibles brand. These are not your traditional cannabis gummy because they're not just about getting you high. They're meant to provide specific wellness effects. Some of them are even non-intoxicating. The Optimals line includes 2 cannabis-powered non-groggy sleep aids, fast to sleep and stay asleep gummies. I'd love to take one of those and just lay on the couch and watch Love Island and not think about anything because I still don't know who wins. I'm 6 episodes from the end. Looking just to chill out? The Optimals line also includes stress and pain relief formulations. Then there's the brand new Quick Lift formulation, a delicious clementine shine flavored gummy calibrated to deliver a mood-lifting euphoric high that can help you feel more tuned into your surroundings. To learn more or find a dispensary near you, visit wanabrands.com/optimals. That's Wana with 1 N, WANA, and Optimals with an S. wanabrands.com/optimals.
Want to teach your kids financial literacy, but not sure where to start? Greenlight can help. With Greenlight, parents can keep an eye on kids' spending and saving, while kids and teens use a card of their own to build money confidence. As a parent, you can send instant money transfers, set up chores, automate allowance, and more. It's a convenient way to run your household, customized to your family's needs, and the easy way to raise financially smart kids. Get started with Greenlight today and get your first month free at greenlight.com/Spotify.
All right, we're back. Our hot topic this week comes to us from our friends at Westward, who quoted Joshua extensively in their cover story this week about the city of Denver's plan to shutter the long-running restaurant and gift shop at the city-owned Buffalo Bill Grave and Museum at the end of the year. Allegedly, this is over concerns about the aging building, but maybe it's actually because it's time to cancel this historical icon of the Wild West, Buffalo Bill Cody. Joshua, I just wanted to start by getting your take on this whole situation about this, closing of this gift shop.
I'm sad that the gift shop's closing. I hate Buffalo Bill. That's sort of what they quoted me as in in the Westward article. Basically, the reason why I don't like Buffalo Bill, why I hate him, is because he's this icon of like manifest destiny. He also created this Wild West show, which created this hurtful narrative, this cartoon image of what a Native American is in the Western like zeitgeist that I and other natives have to deal with today. Buffalo Bill's been dead for over a century, and we still have to deal with the consequences of his actions every day. And it sucks. It's annoying. And it allows people to sort of not care about treaty rights or sovereignty or all these Native American issues that were paid for in blood and lands that we still have to fight for, even though that they've already been paid for. And so, not a big fan of Buffalo Bill. I am sympathetic to the fact that this has been kind of like a Denver touristy thing, like for people that have been in Denver, multiple generations, that they've been like proud that his graveside's here, and that it's kind of a campy thing to go up and go to the trading posts up there. I know a lot of Native American artisans had been making stuff to, and so you would have like kind of problematic touristy wares, but right next to them would be Native American artisan wares as well, and so that's kind of pretty common throughout the West. And so mixed feelings. Mostly I'm just, I hate Buffalo Bill, so anything to not venerate him anymore, I think is great. But I'm not, dancing on his grave either, I guess. Maybe I'll dance on his grave. I'm not dancing on the grave of the fact that this is shutting down, I guess.
Yeah. I think that there's definitely two things going on right here. There's the conversation about Buffalo Bill and his legacy, and then there's this very specific situation with this gift shop that might have some problematic stuff for sale. But Melanie, I want to talk to you. But you've been living in Denver for a long time. This place is city-owned up on the top of Lookout Mountain. Had you ever been up there? Do you have any feelings about it?
I think I'd been there once right after I moved to Denver. So maybe like 16 years ago. I remember going up there. I don't remember going to the museum that's up there, but I do remember the gift shop. I think I bought some candy or something. But I just remember this crowded gift shop. That's like my only memory of it. But I do think it was interesting in the article how the city seems to be, really pointing to the condition of the building as the reason. But obviously there are these other concerns that were brought up in the story as well. And it seems interesting that the city is sort of like not willing to kind of fess up that that's the reason, if that is the reason. I don't know. What did you all think about that? Yeah.
Yeah. Let me be a little specific here. So I'll quote from the article here. It's the reporter Michael Roberts was talking about the head of Parks and Rec, the Joellen Clark, former city council person, who technically supervises this gift shop because the city owns this place again. And he, I guess, recently visited the gift shop and was, quote, perturbed by some products, including a rubber tomahawk. But Clark was most upset by Chief Lollipop, a so-called cigar store Indian whose headdress had drill holes stuffed in with colorful suckers for sale.
I've never seen that. That is horrifying, I guess.
Yeah.
Not a big fan of that. That's crazy.
No. I've been to this place. I've been to this museum. I've been to this gift shop. I think my feelings about it have changed a little bit recently, especially after reading this article and hearing, just like laying out exactly what's in there and exactly what's in the museum. I think that I mean, the gift shop, some of this stuff for sale, like it's kitsch. And it's also racist. And I wish that we could preserve some of the like kitschy Western aspect of it without featuring also the like weird racist, like hurtful stuff.
Hey, me too. You know, like
I guess that's another lukewarm take, but I don't know how to do that, because so much of the kitsch of the West is really deeply rooted in Buffalo Bill's legacy. This is like what he created. He kind of like started that tradition, and that's part of our history too.
Yeah, I mean, there's a generation of people that grew up playing cowboys and Indians, and in fact, even natives grew up playing cowboys and Indians. My grandpa.
Oh, really?
Yeah, or my mom, she would like go to Indian schools, boarding schools, and they would watch cowboy and Indian films, and they would root for the cowboys, which is crazy,
bizarre,
and my big thing when I hear about like Chief Lollipop, like I haven't done this yet, but my big my big plan is I want a cigar. I want probably a couple cigar store Indians in my house, but I want to steal them. All right. So if you ever come over to my house and there's a cigar store Indian, just know I stole that. Okay.
Yeah.
So
I love that.
Yeah. So hopefully I haven't got one yet. Yeah.
It's all about context.
Sure.
That's the important thing. Because that's what I've changed my opinion about the whole museum too. Like, because I remember going through there and they have so many artifacts. Like, his life is so well documented. I had a really nice time in this museum as a history lover. But in retrospect, like, there is something inherently, like, it's like you said, it's veneration of this guy because it's his grave site.
Yeah.
To make a museum dedicated to one man at his grave site, it's such a position of respect.
And this man specifically, this guy, he hunted buffalo. Which I don't know if you guys know about buffalo. They're an apex, not apex predator, but like an apex herbivore. And so they don't really have to worry about too many things hunting them. So they don't really run away. And so you can sit with a rifle and shoot a buffalo, and the other buffalo aren't going to run away. So you can just sit there and pick them off, just pop, 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 pop. And what they would do, they'd take the hides and they'd take the tongues and leave the rest of the buffalo just to rot. And so there'd just be, the plains are just filled with just dozens and dozens of these buffalo meat, just these carcasses just left to rot. And that is how he started his legacy before he even did any of the Wild West shows. You know, that's sort of how he, that was like his first big job. And so it's just like, he's not a good guy. And so, and there's a lot of interesting people in the West that's part of that sort of Western culture that, like, I get. Buffalo Bill isn't one of them for me. Kit Carson isn't one of them for me. Though these shouldn't be your heroes. They're bad people, and it's objectively they're bad people. When you look at the actions that they did, they pick somebody else, you know. And so,
well, Melanie, I want to ask you about this quote from the historian Steve Friesen. So this guy, probably the most prominent historian of Buffalo Bill. He's written several books about him. And his response, I think, to what you just said, Joshua, is that when we're looking at any historical figure, I think it's important to understand the context in which they operated and judge them less by our standards today. And then he also mentioned how Buffalo Bill advocated for equal rights for American Indians. He said women should vote. He spoke out on behalf of saving natural resources. And if you look at him in that way, he was ahead of his time. So I don't know. I know in the education context, you deal with this kind of stuff. How do you feel like this conversation would play out in that other context?
I feel like a lot of educators are sort of moving away from teaching about these figures altogether. Like, not even teaching about them in context, like you just mentioned, and like this historian seems to be advocating for, but just not teaching about them. So, like my kids, I don't think they know who Buffalo Bill is.
Interesting.
They've definitely learned about Native Americans in school and like what tribes are native to Colorado. And, we've gone to the Sand Creek Massacre exhibit at the History Museum, so they know all about that. But I really don't think they have any idea who he is. And, I don't know that I will teach them about Buffalo Bill. And this has come up a lot in recent years in the education space in Colorado. You know, there was a bill kind of banning Indian mascots from high schools, and a lot of high schools have changed their mascots. Right. There was there's like the social studies standards for Colorado. So these lay out like what students should learn in social studies, and they've added the Sand Creek Massacre to that list. They want students to learn about that. Denver Public Schools recently adopted a new literacy curriculum, but they made some changes to it. This is like a curriculum to teach students how to read, but it's like stories about true stories about history. And they deleted a bunch of people from the curriculum before they rolled it out, like Columbus. I'm trying to remember who else. And they added a bunch of local, sort of heroes from the West. Sure. Who are less problematic, I think. And so I think there is a move in education to kind of, at least in Colorado, at least in, maybe blue states, to kind of move away from teaching about these problematic figures.
Joshua, what do you think about that?
I think that's great. I think there's, and if they want to learn about Buffalo Bill later in life, we have, there's so much on them already, and so they can go to and sort of self-select into that if they're interested. I think the Sand Creek Massacre, I think every Coloradan should know. That was the 3rd Regiment of Colorado. It was the state of Colorado. It was the governor of Colorado. It's 3rd Regiment, and it didn't have to happen. They were a couple weeks away from disbanding the unit, and they wanted to do something, and what they decided to do was a massacre, and they took trophies and they had it at their Christmas party right across the street from Paramount Theater at Denver Theater, which is now a Rocky Mountain chocolate factory. And they had these ears and noses just on display of, women and children. And that's a part of Denver's history. And we can't let it happen again. Not that like that specific thing would happen again, but just that idea that somebody's different from us, so much so that we can dehumanize them and do this actual violence and then celebrate the violence. And so it's a part of our history that I don't want people to feel guilty about it. I just want people to learn. Like, I just want people to acknowledge it and to not do it again, I guess. That's a big deal to me.
Well, see, that's how I feel about Buffalo Bill, though. Like, I feel like he's a perfect historical story about the killing of the buffalo, the decimation of the buffalo. This is an example of something we should be mindful of to not do again. And he created this whole myth of the West, too. Like, you can't really talk about that without talking about someone like Buffalo Bill. And like when you are aware that you're creating a stereotype of the West in your own mind, you don't perpetuate it anymore, or you're maybe a little bit more careful not to.
It's true.
So I guess it makes me a little bit uncomfortable to totally take out something like Buffalo Bill from the curriculum when, like you're saying, Joshua, there is so much material out there about him. He's so prominent in pop culture still.
I guess if you're going to teach them in context, they have to be able to internalize that context. And so is it a conversation for 6th graders or is it a conversation for high schoolers?
Probably be a great conversation for high schoolers.
Right.
Like, imagine a high school class. My best experience in college was this class. I went to GW, George Washington University, and we did a class at George Washington's home on Mount Vernon. Oh, wow. And he's a problematic dude, he held slaves. That sucks. But learning about him in his context was one of the most formative experiences of my young life. And I think that if high school kids in Denver could do that at Buffalo Bill's museum and grave, and maybe not so much the gift shop, but that would be so valuable. That seems so valuable to me. And so I don't know. I don't like thinking about a world in which this museum is gone away or taken away, even though I understand the arguments why people are doing it.
Although the History Museum had a Sand Creek Massacre exhibit that was not sensitive, I think, was not and then they redid it. I think I haven't been to the Buffalo Bill Museum, but I imagine it is very celebratory of him.
It used to be worse.
I think
it used to be worse, but I think it's better now. Yes.
And the one in Cody, Wyoming is worse. It is.
Oh, really?
It's crazy.
I believe that.
It is.
Like what? What'd you see?
Just everything is portrayed in this almost Messiah light, I guess. Oof. And you walk. It's a giant statue of him as you walk into the, and it's big. I mean, they had air conditioning.
Comfortable place to spend an afternoon physically. But Melanie, you were saying the museum in context in the future, and you were making a point, I think.
Oh yeah, no, just I think it matters the way that you present it, and I'm not sure because I haven't been what the museum is up at, where the gift shop is. But I would imagine it's maybe not. I don't know. Super in context. Yeah.
I'm curious because they said they closed it down because it was sort of run down, right? Because of the building. It's kind of beautiful. It's a beautiful area up there. It seems worth saving and putting it into a different context.
Yeah, doing something.
Yeah.
Doing something. I don't know. Anyway, listeners, we'd love to hear from you on this. I know there's probably a lot of people out there who have visited the museum, who've visited the gift shop. I mean, you only have until the end of the year to visit the gift shop. They are shutting it down unless plans change for some reason. But please call in, leave us a voicemail, send us a text with your name and neighborhood. I want to know what you think about the Buffalo Bill Museum and Grave and Restaurant and Gift Shop. What do you remember? Do you remember Chief Lollipop?
And if you guys know of any cigar store Indians that are just out there on the front, not chained to anything, you know. Also, go ahead up the line. Let me know, okay, please.
Text or leave a voicemail about that too. All right, we're going to do one more quick break, and then we'll be back with wins and fails. All right, we're back. Best way to end the week, Rocky Mountain highs and lows, a.k.a. wins and fails. We each brought a recent local something we think is a win for Denver and another we think is a fail. We're going to go around and share fails first so we can end on wins. And you know what, Joshua? I think it's your turn to start first.
Yeah, 9,600 jobs lost in the Denver job market. It's tough, too, because both Boulder and Fort Collins had an increase in jobs, about 12,000 between the two places. They also had an increase in salaries, where Denver had a decrease, minor decrease, just like 0.5% in salaries. But it's just one of those things. Unemployment right now, it's still underneath 4%. It's nothing crazy. But the fact that we aren't adding jobs to the economy is always worrisome because this is a delayed effect. That came out to this week, and it made me want to stay at Casa Bonita a little bit longer. I'll tell you that much.
So there's 96,000 jobs? Since when?
9,600.
9,600 jobs.
Oh,
okay.
96,000 would be...
That would be
yeah.
Devastating.
Yes. Yeah.
So 9,600 since like just the quarter or the year?
Yeah, the quarter since the last time they reported.
Wow.
So.
Yeah, that's a lot. Yeah, after we talked a lot about going out to eat and restaurant prices and cost of living. I'm sure, Melanie, you're thinking about this too. I mean, it's hard not to in Denver right now. But someone wrote in after our last conversation about this, and they pointed out like a lot of the jobs lost are in the service industry. People like working in restaurants, which was interesting. It was like a twist I hadn't thought about.
It's one of the best ways to sort of be able to live in Denver with our high cost of living without a college degree.
Yeah.
You know.
Are you feeling it, Melanie? How are you feeling it? The cost of living issue.
Yeah. I feel it at the grocery store for sure.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah. And just going out to eat or trying to grab lunch, I feel like you can't do that for like less than $20. I found like a falafel place near the office where I can get like a sandwich for $9, and that feels like a huge win.
Yeah. I heard about this. Our friend Molly Martin at Westward just wrote a story about a bar downtown that's doing like $5 cocktails now, and they're like not publishing the location, which is very cool. It's like, I love that the hottest trend in restaurants right now is just cheap prices.
Cheap booze.
Like that's what's getting people on the hype train.
The hottest trend in Denver right now is gatekeeping things. You know what I mean?
A little bit. Not on CityCast Denver, though. I'll always tell you if I know something cool going on.
Just don't ask for Breeze parking spots.
No. Melanie, your fail this week.
Mine is way more frivolous. So
hell yeah.
I saw a story about, I want to preface this by saying I'm a big fan of Palisade peaches.
Oh, how could you not be?
Yeah, love a peach. Oh, what? Well, maybe
Stop it.
So
get out of here.
There's some
go on, Melanie.
pizza shops that are putting Palisade peaches on pizza.
Ooh. Yes.
In the way you would put pineapple on pizza, and I'm a huge opponent of hot fruit.
Really? You don't like pineapple on pizza?
No, I don't even like pie, really. Like fruit should be cold.
Oh, wow.
Interesting.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if I love a hot fruit.
I actually like a hot fruit.
Yeah, give me a pie,
a cobbler.
A hot pie. Yeah, cobbler.
Oh yeah.
I used to go to this place when I was a kid. My parents, we every year we'd go to this like upstate Michigan. There's a place called the Cherry Hut, and I remember getting a cherry pie every year. Getting a piece of cherry pie.
Say cherry pie one more time.
I will not. I will not.
Cherry pie.
I don't know why this is happening, but I will not. Sorry, Melanie. That's probably your nightmare, though. Hot cherry pie.
Yeah, it is. Yep.
Yeah. Do you put honey on your crusts?
No.
Interesting. Yeah.
What? So, okay. All right. So these pizza places, like, I need to know where they are that are doing this. Do you remember any of them?
Cart Driver.
Oh, great spot.
Yeah.
That's
no,
a favorite.
agree.
Mm-hmm.
I just would rather not have
Did you
hot
try
fruit
it?
on my. Oh no.
So it's more like a philosophical
Yeah,
thing.
it's more like I just like don't like hot fruit in general, and just thinking about like
This is such a
hot
funny
peaches
take.
on top of sauce. Oh.
When's the last time you had a hot fruit? I'm just curious. Like, what was the hot fruit?
I
that
know.
did it
I
for
feel
you?
like every time I see a pie and it smells good and
Mm-hmm.
it looks good, and then I eat it and I'm like, ooh, it's not good.
Interesting.
How about like a plantain? Does that count?
No, I like a plantain.
Okay.
I think because they're not very like sweet.
Yeah. Well, they
Yeah.
can be if you have the. I mean, yeah. But I see what you mean.
Yeah.
Interesting. I'm going to be thinking about this.
What about a dehydrated fruit?
I'm lukewarm about a dehydrated fruit.
Lukewarm on a lukewarm fruit. All right, it's my turn for a fail. Listeners
go ahead,
are going to have their
take
own thoughts about hot fruit. So mine is, I thought, quite chilling. I haven't seen this reported elsewhere except in this new report in Fortune magazine, and it has big implications for outdoor retail lovers like me here in Denver. REI, the big flagship, that store down by the Confluence, I love that store. I don't know. Do you two have feelings about that store? That's a nice store to go to me.
Sure. Yeah. No, I like it. Yeah.
Cool. Thanks. So REI apparently has been hemorrhaging money the last couple of years. Like it's a really unprofitable business. Like they lost $311 million last year, slumping sales, shrinking market for outdoor gear in general. And the CEO recently warned in a letter to shareholders that he's blaming the company's eco-conscious ethos and like their dividend to members that they do, because it's like a worker-owned co-op. And he says that there's going to be changes coming to how they run their stores. So that like people might not be as friendly in there, might not be as comfortable in there anymore.
What do you think? Do you think they'll be pushing you to buy stuff?
I mean, probably a little bit more. It's very laid back already. Like they're way overstaffed. Well, they have a sufficient staff, perhaps, but they're very helpful. They bend over backwards to get you fitted out with the right stuff and like tell you all about it. And I just worry about that going away now if the company's not doing as good.
Yeah, the only like camping stuff I do is like from the Marine Corps, and you want to talk about a helpful staff, not them. And I don't know. I guess are you worried that your experience, are you going to buy more from REI to save them, or like what are you going to?
I don't know. Just change.
It's like the AC. It's like the AC problem. You know what I mean? What are you going to do to fix this problem?
Yeah, I guess that's true. I'd have to give more.
Buy a canoe.
I would have to buy several canoes. I have to single-handedly save this company. No, I don't know. I just don't like change. Change is hard. I don't want the store that I love to change in any way.
How often do you
nice.
go into REI?
Once a year to buy a insulated water bottle. At least once a year.
Do you lose your insulated water bottle?
Sometimes, but sometimes I just, it's a guilty pleasure.
How many insulated water bottles do you have?
You talk to my wife. I have too many. I've got more than I need, but I love them.
Yeah. When's the last time you went camping?
Haven't gone this year. Last summer.
What about you?
How about you, Melanie? You camper?
Yeah. I only went once this summer, but we usually go more.
Okay.
And I feel like, didn't people like during the pandemic, like discover the great outdoors? Like I feel like they should be doing better.
Yeah, you think maybe that's what's happening though. Is like the pandemic
bump.
is coming down, and they're kind of like dealing with the.
Yeah, no one's making bread anymore. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's true.
Sourdough is out.
All right, let's move on to wins. Let's talk about some good stuff. I think Melanie, you should start with a win. Okay,
yeah, I saw that Denver is expanding free composting to more neighborhoods this time in Southwest Denver. I think that's a huge win. I live in a suburb and have to pay for my composting, which is sadness. So
sorry about that.
Yeah, free composting.
That's a great win.
Yeah.
We've been waiting for it. It's overdue. I've been waiting for it in my place. They still haven't brought us our smaller garbage can yet that we voted for like 2 years ago now or something. I don't know. I don't have the details handy.
It's in the mail. You know?
You think?
I don't think it's in the mail. No, I don't. I don't think that.
Are you a big composter, Melanie?
No, just started. My 7-year-old guilted me into it.
Oh, really?
She learned about composting, and then she was like, Mom, why don't we compost?
It's a good
and
question.
I was like, you know what? We should.
How's it going so far?
Great.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I love it.
No complaints about like the smell or like...
Yeah, I don't have any complaints. Maybe my neighbors do because I put it outside. But no, I think it feels so like last night we ate corn on the cob and it felt so satisfying to put the corn cob in the compost.
You're doing your part.
I know. It's like, saving the world. One corn at a time.
Picking corn out of your teeth.
Such a good person.
I'm a hero.
All right, I'll go with the win. Mine's short, but it is a nice story, and I do think this company deserves more attention for the success they've had. But All City Sports Network is the name of the company, but locals might know them better as the DNVR podcast network. So like DNVR Broncos, DNVR Nuggets.
Also
like,
PHNX.
Oh, yeah, PHNX. Yeah, they have Phoenix, they have Chicago, they have Philadelphia, and soon Dallas, according to their announcement earlier this week, which is my win. They just raised $12 million in another round of investment led by their friends at Tegna, the people that own 9 News.
Fantastic. content.
Yeah, it's great content.
Yeah.
They really tap into something special about like loving the teams. They're like unabashedly fans of the teams, and it's fun to be a part of if you're a fan of a local team.
And still great analysis, even though they are, huge fans of the teams. Like they're able to sort of be honest about both their players and, the sort of the situation. They're incredibly well informed.
Yeah,
I love them.
They're sharp. I like especially RK, who does the college football show for them. He's been talking to like all the players on the Buffs all off season. He seems to have really good relationships with them, and it's just fun to see the team in that light. Joshua, your turn. What's your win? What's your Rocky Mountain High this week?
3 wolf pups, baby. They were born here in Colorado. We got Colorado wolves again. Yeah, let's go. All right. Hey, are you a deer that's just been drinking water and eating all the flowers by the streams? Well, that's too bad, because now you're going to have to worry and not drink by the water. And now flowers are going to grow back, and it's going to be beautiful. Okay. I lived in Yellowstone. But it was a couple years after they reintroduced.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
I'm an interesting person.
You're full of it. Yeah, you're full of stories.
It's almost like it feels like I lie about it a lot, right? It's just true.
I don't know. There's always something new. Every time you're on, something new comes out.
Yeah, I mean, I have a tattoo of a buffalo on my calf. Anyways, I lived in Yellowstone a couple years after the reintroduction of wolves, and seeing like you can see the actual positive effects of the wolf population on just the beauty of Yellowstone. It's a part of our ecosystem. I'm sorry to ranchers, it sucks, but
yeah,
that's I mean,
it's part of it. It's
It is.
an ecosystem. Humans are part of it too.
It's true.
And they do get compensated in certain circumstances from the state if there's depredation.
Right, exactly. And they're gorgeous. They're gorgeous hunters. If you ever get the opportunity to watch wolves hunt down some prey, it I don't know, changes you. I don't know. You're able to cry again.
Melanie, how about you? Are you as emotional about the wolf reintroduction as Joshua?
I mean, wolves are great. That's great news. That's a huge win.
I think it's cool. Wolf pups.
Yeah, baby animals. Yeah.
They're already 30 pounds. Isn't that crazy?
Oh my gosh.
I know.
I did see the video this week, and it was kind of nice to be like, oh yeah, this is how it's working. This is how it's supposed to work. This was the plan.
I mean, it's not the plan. It's I like when things are in harmony, and wolves are a part of that harmony for whatever reason. I don't know. Big fan of wolves.
Well, it's a great win, and such a good time this morning. So nice to hang out with you two. This was a great show. Thanks for joining me.
Yeah. This wolf pack of 1 became a wolf pack of 3 this morning.
Wow.
Oh.
That's all for today here on CityCast Denver. Our producers this week were me, Paul Caroli, Olivia Jewel Love, Francisco Kilgore, and Lizzie Goldsmith. Peyton Garcia and Adrian Gonzalez write our morning newsletter, Hey Denver. Our host, Bree Davies, will be back next week. Our music is by Los Mocochetes, with additional mixing by Tyler Lindgren. If you haven't already, subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts, follow us on Instagram at CityCast Denver, and tell DPS Superintendent Alex Marrero about us the next time you see him. You can sign up for that daily newsletter I mentioned and learn more about us at denver.citycast.fm. See you next week.
Hey, what did you have for breakfast this morning?
Oh boy, I had chocolate chip banana bread that I made.
I said levels good? Levels good?
Yeah, levels are good. Also, that sounds good.
Yeah,
Did it turn out?
It did, but now it's several days old and it was dry.
Yeah.
Wait. Whoa. You can just casually. You went from like having a great breakfast to having.
No, it wasn't that great.
Well.